All right, let me switch on over. Hold on a second. Should have done this before. All right. Hey, Mercurius. Hey, Frederick. I am, I am not so religious, and I don't. I don't even know if I have played a cleric. I'm pretty sure I have. I'm pretty sure I have. Cleric is not my first choice in class. So there's nothing wrong with them. Mercurius says, seems like a few people are going to Clericon. Well, I should hope so. I'm going to be running a game there. So I hope some people show up. And that's what I need to work on. As is my usual, hey Neon Glitch, I've been letting things slide until towards the last minute. So I have to put my I don't know how I'm going to get these both done on time. My Hexed project on the back burner to finish this. This, for folks who've been following this stream for a while, you'll recognize this. This is, I've been working on this off and on. This has actually been a few months old, but as things happen with me, life gets in the way. Jurassic Park, they say life finds a way. For me, life often seems to get in the way. So, but this is what I plan to run. This, here's my handy dandy. Probably would look nicer if I had oops, no, close that. Sorry, I meant that button. This is this adventure I'm titling Escape. It's kind of a starter reverse dungeon crawl into a hex crawl. The dungeon crawl portion's very short, small. It's this area right here. You wake up on these blocks here being stone benches in the dungeon. You need to escape from the dungeon, escape from this fort, and get down from the fort, which is here, and find your way down over here. I have no idea how this is going to play. I don't have a great sense of how long it will take people. There are a couple of things here that could either shorten or lengthen the time, depending. One is how inquisitive people are going to be. So there are some things to find out, and if some of those things we find out will help depending on what your sort of goals are. But this is really supposed to be kind of a starter, theoretically, to as kind of a campaign starter type deal. Frederick says a a multi-class cleric thief is the best class. I used to like my thief multi-classes, but I don't think I did a cleric thief. I know I've done fighter thieves. I've done the magic user thief. I've done the famed fighter magic user thief, but I don't think I ever did a cleric thief. Here's some, what is this? Grape Aid Spindrift for the working man. So as a one-shot for a con, I'm very curious as to how this is going to work. Mercury says, sounds like a funnel scenario for DCC. Yeah, it kind of is. It kind of is. You're not going to have 8 guys. I'm not giving you 8 people. You're going to have the people you came with. Obviously, I'll try to put in, there are spots. So for instance, you start down here in this area on these slabs, and there are these cells here which are empty, but you could have other folks show up if you need to replenish. Really what I'm curious about, and there's no way of knowing it until I play it, is like I said, there's information to be had kind of throughout here a little bit. There's a guy who's in one of these cells who is a mason who was kidnapped by these. So the backstory, I guess I should go into the backstory first. The backstory is some cultists, if I zoom in on here a bit, some cultists, this was you were kidnapped by cultists and taken to a ruined fort. Yeah, it's a classic thing, right? Ruined fort. Well, these cultists, they've got they've got aspirations. They're actually trying to repair the fort. And to do that, they kidnapped this poor mason from the village, brought him up here to help them make repairs to the fort. There's also a necromancer. I don't know, maybe not technically a necromancer as in the wizard title, but some kind of necromantic priest who's been, been the foreman, the boss here. But there is kind of greater things going on with this cult. So you were brought here, and this this high priest necromancer wannabe tried to perform some kind of dark ritual, and it went all crazy. It went wild. And so you wake up after this ritual has gone off the rails. And so there are a number of the cultists have been turned into undead, and some other things are undead. And you need to now. So now that's where you wake up. You were supposed to be part of this ritual had it gone as planned, but since it went awry, you were able to wake up. So now it's kind of, what do you do? So your ultimate goal, and I will communicate this, transmit this at the con, obviously, is to escape from this, escape from where you are, and make it down to this village that's nearby. Well, and this is not one of the problems. This is one of the puzzles a little bit. Is make it to civilization, make it to safety, I guess could be the thing, right? You got to make it to get out of this dungeon, and then make it to safety. That being your goals. So in one of these cells, there is a mason, and the mason vaguely knows the way out, but they also know something of the cult, at least in terms of what they're doing. Kind of not their ultimate plan. He does not privy to that, but he's privy to, okay, they're here, they're operating, they're serious. What these guys are doing is a serious undertaking here. They're making a base of power, and if they get this fort kind of like the Death Star fully operational, they're going to be a power in this sector. It's going to be hard for the Lord who's down here to deal with them if they're in a castle that's essentially, in a fortification that's essentially the equal of his, and actually theirs is in better tactical, in a tactical way, theirs is actually better off. It's high ground. They got to come up to them. So it's not good news. It's not good. So he knows a little bit about that. And he also knows vaguely, he'll be able to tell you that you're you're northeast of where you need to go. So rescuing that guy provides a couple of clues. Here's a well that's in this room, and there's a corpse that's in this well that's being eaten by giant centipedes. If you pull the corpse out, and this is what I was kind of writing up actually as we go, you pull the corpse out, it's got some information in it also. I think I was going to have it have maybe a partial map or some kind of surveying plans or something that would also indicate some idea of where you are a little bit. And I think also the idea that the so the kind of the backstory again with this necromancer is he wanted this ritual. Why did he do this ritual now? He was doing it because they're getting an MVP. They're getting a VIP visit. Someone of importance to the cult is on their way to visit, and this necromancer thought that as a way of showing off, look at how great I am, don't you want to promote me in the ranks, yada, 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 I'm going to do this ritual, so when you get here, we'll be able to, I hadn't even really thought about because it didn't work, but I haven't thought about what exactly the expectation was. He was going to make some undead, and they were all going to be under his command, so maybe he's going to have them do a show. Whatever he was going to do, that was his plan. He was going to come in, all these things were going to be here, and wow, aren't you amazing? And of course, it didn't work. But the Mason also knows I think there's going to be a message in that corpse that alerts you to the fact that, because there is a path here, kind of an old road, you come out of the old road leading down here, but if you get that message, the message was pretty much going to tell you, oh, somebody's coming literally today up the road. So you probably shouldn't take that way. It won't be written that way. It'd be like, hey, they're coming, and you'll realize maybe it's today. So that's another piece of information. Then there's kind of a ghoul. It's not going to be exactly a ghoul. It's going to be on my own customized kind of ghoul that's down here. If you go down, who will have has a magic. Someone stabbed it with a magic, like a +1 short sword or dagger, and I think it was a dagger, and it's sticking out of the ghoul's back. But of course, this is a pit that the ghoul is in. But you got to go down and deal with the ghoul to get it. If you do, you'll get a little magic weapon for you. Because the thing is, you're waking up on these. You're waking up on here. You have nothing. You don't have no equipment. You're in some raggedy clothes. That's it. So you're going to be scrounging around. There's a corpse in the first room who might become a zombie, but until then, you can get something off of them. You'll want to find. So I hope. The hope is that given that you're starting out with nothing, you're going to want to check out nooks and crannies to see what you could find, maybe. I'm not exactly certain. There'll probably be another. I think that was going to have a regular short sword on this guy who's fallen in the well, along with other information. There's a magic dagger down here. There's some stuff up in this storeroom, and then if you come out of the dungeon, you end up on this ground level where there's a tapestry that shows you the position of where the fort is relative to the village. So that's another kind of a method that you could use to get yourself positioned. You can also go up, and they have a VIP prisoner who they're holding up here, and there's a chest here that's got some stuff. So there's going to be some information up here also. And then she's the daughter of that local lord who they're planning to use as leverage, and she actually knows very well. So whereas the mason has a basic idea of how to get home, if they rescue her, she's got a much better idea of how to get back, because she's familiar with the wilderness. She does a lot of hunting. In fact, that's how they captured her, as they were hunting. She was hunting a hunting party, and she was waylaid. So you have these different puzzle pieces you can hopefully put together as a party, and then get some stuff. You can definitely get some kind of regular old supplies in here. You get some rope, get some blah, 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 and then try to escape and make it to town. But what the unknown is, and this is just what you have to do when you're running things, testing things, right? As I don't know how much people are going to want to interact with that stuff. I could see some folks at the first chance they can get the heck out of Dodge, which is totally reasonable. This is not a situation where you're well equipped for the job, but you're going to get the most out of it if you do take some risks. And of course, if you're a player, you don't know when the thing is over. So you don't know that, well, you make it, I'll tell you, make it back to town, but you don't know which part's going to take the longest, right? Whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see just in a few things, what people try to do, how risky or risk averse. Also, sometimes in a con game, people will be quite risky, because why not? Yeah, it's a one shot. You're playing someone you don't have really any attachment to. So why not go ahead and try something? Who knows? So you might have folks really going through all that stuff, which would be great, taking their chances. Or you might not. So I don't know how long this would be, because this dungeon element, you don't even have to. This third level, there's no reason for you to go down there. It's really curiosity that would take you down to this level. You do not have to go there. The thing is yes, there is something to gain if you do go down there, but you still have to defeat that ghoul, which could means it might be a Pyrrhic victory if you lose 3 people but get the magic dagger or whatever. It's sure you got it, but at what cost? I think there might be some bodies in here, or maybe I don't remember what I decided to put in there. There's also a kind of a hidden door. There's some debris here, and if you spend some time clearing it, you can sneak out of here and come out in these stables over here, which means you could potentially, if you decide to spend that time doing that, you might not hit the storeroom. You might just come out of the stables. So there's definitely a lot of ways that you can move, which I like. I want to give people the freedom to do what they want. I think that's why I didn't put them in the very bottom of the dungeon. I wanted them to have choices. Do you go down, check it out, or do you play it safe? Or do you go down because you're like, man, we really need stuff? Or do you say, you know what, we don't have any stuff, therefore we can't deal with threats down there, we're not going? Or, it could go in a number of different ways to go. And there's a zombie in this stairwell, and there's some cultists fighting some zombies up here, and then in this courtyard there's just all hell breaking loose with all kinds of zombies and cultists running around going nutso. But you kind of come up here, and these doors will be closed, so you'll have a little bit of a breather before you kind of got to go out there, and then you can go out through this gatehouse, or I think you might, or you can, there's different ways out. And then once you're out, then you're hex crawling to town. So that's the kind of the long and short of it. So I'm really, on the one hand, it's one of those things I'm really nervous about. On the one hand, I'm really looking forward to running it and getting some answers to things and finding out how people are doing. On the second on the flip side, of it all, it is a little bit. It's obviously it's nervous. It's noives. It's a lot of noives and trying to figure out. I could run. And the thing is, I have notes and things I could run it kind of as is, but I'd like to actually get it kind of properly written out, I guess. So that's what I'm doing. That is what we're doing here today. So we got this. So right now I'm doing the well. I've already kind of written up. So the well, the room description is a blood trail leads from the door. There's only one door. To a well. Double space. To a well in the center of the room. A booted foot can just barely be seen peeking above the stone lip. The bottom half of a cultist's corpse hangs down into the muck that has partially filled the well. The body jostles slightly. Beneath the surface of the muck, 3 giant centipedes feed on the corpse. If the corpse is pulled up, they will emerge with it. That's that little encounter. And then I have a section about the wall. A section of the southern wall has partially collapsed. If an hour is spent clearing the rubble, it will reveal a cramped tunnel that worms its way up to the stables surface level area B. I might change this number. I don't know if an hour is too long or too short. I'm not sure. I have to think about it. I feel like, to be honest, an hour is kind of actually a reasonable amount of time, but we'll see. So that could be a secondary way out, assuming you go through and then you check all that, you clear all that out, and then you follow it. You have a second way out. So we got the giant centipedes. The giant centipedes, I don't know, I'm just a fan of them, but I always forget something about them. It's always interesting to go look up these monsters because you use them and you sort of have your idea, because maybe you've internalized them from the book, or mostly have, like I have, so you kind of forget to read it back sometimes. So the giant centipedes, they don't do any damage, which is kind of funny. That's usually one thing I think I up there. It's like, oh, they'll do a little damage. But they don't do any damage. But what happens is you have to save versus poison or be violently sickened for, this is by the book, 10 days. You move at half speed during this time, and you cannot perform any other physical actions, which is really just for this, for a one shot, that is terrible. Because even though it's not doing you any damage necessarily, you're sickened, your movement speed drops half, and you can't perform any physical actions. I mean, that's your death now. It's not even necessarily your death, like your character is going to die, because maybe not, but your character is no longer, your character is now baggage. They can move half speed and can't do anything else. So you can't help you. I suppose as a player, you can toss out ideas and your character can speak them, but they can't actually do anything. So I did change that slightly, and I may change this again. You must save versus death to perform any physical actions. I might do that. I might do something like, hey, you can't do combat, and it takes you twice as long to do anything. I don't know. I've got to muck with that. I do like the giant centipedes. I'm not averse to changing them completely, but it's interesting because, man, that's a really rough. It's kind of interesting because when you look at them, I keep saying interesting. I should probably stop saying that word over and over again. When you look at them in the book at first glance, you might think, this kind of sucks. All right, you get sick. They don't actually do any damage. They can't actually hurt anybody. So because you can ask yourself, well, what is the end game from this? And this is a fair question, I think. What is the end game from the centipede? Centipedes come out, they bite you, you get sick. You can no longer do anything for 10 days, but you still move and you're not dying. I suppose one could argue that subsequent bites would start doing damage, and then that's how they get you. Or I don't know, something. I might even change. Maybe I'll change it to be that there's a worsening effect, because it just seems like having kind of partially incapacitated a potential victim, they can't do anything with it. But maybe that's it. Maybe they're scavengers. So they just bite you, you get sick, and then they leave it to something else. I mean, that could be it, right? That the giant centipedes, once they've bitten you and you have this sickened condition, they're just going to back off and wait, maybe. I don't know. Like people imagined, because I think I read that it's not actually true, but people imagine that's with the Komodo dragons, they're similar. They would bite, and there was some bacteria in the bite, and then they would just kind of let you die. I think that's been kind of debunked a bit, but that was always, I think, the classic idea of how Komodo dragons operated is they just kind of bit you, and they'd sort of follow you or let you wander off, and the bacteria in the bite would just drop you, and then they could come and eat you at their leisure. Maybe that's the MO for the giant centipedes, but it definitely is an interesting kind of bit because once they've bitten you, they can't really, by the book, they cannot do anything worse to you. That you are already as bad off as you're going to be. But 10 days, I mean, that is a long time. A long time. Maybe I'll say this for the next day. That's a long time. So I thought about my first impulse was to change it to, okay, maybe you make a save and you can do something. But I might change that some more. I'm not sure. We'll see. All right, cultist corpse. See, I already had one dead cultist up here. What did I say was on him? Bloodstained cloak. Oh, yeah. Yep. Dark cloak. Traveling clothes. Let's see, what do you call those things? What is it? The holder you used to hold a what's like a scroll tube? Is that what it's called? Scroll case. All right, scroll case. Leather scroll case containing a surveyor's map of the fort and surrounding area, though I might change that too. And a note from X. I will fill in what the note says, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. Okay, let's see. And a short sword. Short sword and a small pouch containing. Let's get a little loot going here. There's not a lot of sources of loot. There you will if you're able to rescue the VIP, there's some reward. So, but there's not a specific amount of loot. But I'm slowly adding some in. Where did I put I had OSCs. Okay, let me. I can move this over here for now. I believe I just want. I think individual is you. Nothing. Well, I want something. That's probably too much. What's V? I think. Hold on. Let me see. Treasure. What's the types? What types of treasure we got here? Oh, these are the generators. Let's go to treasures. Treasure types. Individuals. Oh, group treasures, you? I thought that was, well, maybe I'll do, he's kind of not really a VIP. I'll try T. I didn't realize that. 2 platinum, bleh. 5 platinum. Why is everything platinum? I like some different things. Come on, give me some different. For real. Rolling treasure. Let's just see. What are the odds here? Individual treasures. Let's see. I kind of like you, actually. That was just too much. It's like I get nothing. 700 gold is too much. Come on. This is what annoys me. 2 gems. I don't mind the 2 gems. Piece of jewel. That's too much again. No. I wish it would tell me it's rolling. No. Cursed scroll. No. 35 silver. No. What's V? I don't like the way there's no feedback to the fact that I'm pressing this button. 3 gems worth 100 and 1 gem worth 500. Now, why can't I get a little bit of coins and a little bit of gems? 2 gems worth 50 gold pieces. All right, I'm going to take that and then just give me some coins. 5 silver pieces. What did I say the 2 gems were? 2 gems were worth how much? Shoot. God, it's like you get so much. Containing 45 SP and a gem worth. What was that gem? I was going to grab it. 100 SP. Okay, dark cloak, traveling clothes, a leather scroll case containing a surveyor's map of the fort and surrounding area, and a note from X, a short sword, and a small pouch, and containing a note. I'll put the note. Actually, no, I don't think I need semicolons. Yeah, okay. All right. And scabbard belted to their waist. I think originally I had a pack. Maybe I'll have the pack be somewhere else. I gotta remember. Because I do want to scatter some things around. Okay, so the cultist corpse, dark cloak, traveling clothes, a leather scroll case containing a surveyor's map of the fort and surrounding area, and a note, a short sword in a scabbard, belted to their waist. Well done, Todd. Waist. Yes, that not wrong kind of waist. To their waist. And a small pouch containing 45 silver and a gem worth 100 silver pieces. The note reads. Okay, and then I can put in after that what the note is. There we go. Okay, and then we have the giant centipede. Right. Actually, I can just leave that. It could all be one thing. What? Okay, booted foot. All right. So I think that's good for the well. Methinks we're okay for that. And we got the giant centipedes. All right, now we got the collapsed wall. That's fine. Now I got to go back to the preparatory chamber. I'm just copying it so I can get the formatting. It's not the cell. What is that? So that is spiral staircase down to the oubliettes. Hey, Mage's Musings. I am coming back this year to Clericon. Awesome. You have you have yet to start your prep. You're a bad person. Well, Mage's Musings, now you made me feel slightly better that there is one person potentially in this world is later on their project than me. All kidding aside, I'm sure you will be. I'm sure you'll be ready. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. But this part, I mean, I am looking forward to getting this part done too. But yeah, it's whoo, down to the nitty gritty. Down to the nitty gritty. Okay, so this is, yep. The staircase. Oh gosh, staircase is completely dark. Stones are smooth. Stones are well worn. A metal. They called a banister. What would you call that? Iron railing. Around the staircase is completely dark. The stones are well worn. An iron railing winds around the inner column of the stair. Hey, Ian. Okay, that works for A. That's that. Now I need B. This is up to the storeroom. Face the okay. Staircase is dark in the middle. Well, I don't know. Lines upwards. A bit of uncertain light leaks down from above. A zombie stands perfectly still just beyond the first bend of the stair. It will attack as soon as it senses something has entered stairwell. Okay. Mage's Music says that their tables are part of the ongoing Keep on the Borderline scenario that they recap on the show, so the setting is there. It's just some fine-tuned detail of the task players must complete. Well, you see, Mage's Musings, you're still ahead of me. You are still ahead of me, so now I feel dejected once again. I'll get there. I'll get there. How'd I not? Yep, save it. I thought I had saved it, but I guess I hadn't. So it's a good thing I did that, because I have done that before. Lost a bunch of work to forgetting to save. Okay. I can put a zombie here. I don't think I need the thing. You know, it's something that, you know, I'm mentioning about the, so I had mentioned previously, if you're just joined the stream, I had mentioned that looking at the giant centipede, there are details I had missed. Details that I had missed in the description. One of which being that they don't do any damage and they just sicken you for a long time. So you get bitten by the giant centipede, take no damage, but you're sick for 10 days. You move at half speed and you could do nothing else, which makes you really vulnerable in a dungeon setting. If you're down deep in some dungeon and you get bit. So imagine this scenario, right? Imagine this, and especially if you're in your kind of a mythic underworld sort of dungeon. So doors are slamming shut and closing behind you. you get bit by a giant centipede, and God's forbid, your whole party gets bit. The worst of all worlds. You can move at half speed. Would you think like, okay, that's doable? It's terrible, but it's doable. But you can take no other physical action, which means I would presume you can't open up those doors. They're locked and stuck. And depending on how a GM is going to rule physical action, which could be anything, if you climbed up a ladder or you did up some rope, anything like that, you can't do it. You're stuck. You either got to find another way out. Hopefully, you're on some kind of level that's got some other exit. You got to find another way out, or you're pretty much you're dead. Because I imagine if you're a low level party in particular, you don't have 10 days worth of food on you and water, so you're starving to death. And then of course, maybe like I said, maybe that's the ecology of the giant centipede. They bite you, you get sick, and they just wait you out. Either you starve to death, in which case they eat you, or some other thing comes and kills you, and then maybe, if giant rats come along and then finish you off, and then they drive off the rats and eat you, right? Any way you dice it, it's a bad situation. But you kind of forget about that sometimes, at least I do. Then you go back and read, and you're like, oh yeah, oh my goodness, right? So another thing came up. So as I was going through this today earlier, I looked up in BX, which is sitting right next to me, the stats for zombies. And I thought, this will be fun. I'm going to use the fast running zombies. I don't want the slow zombies for these. I want them to be kind of perfectly still. Then somebody comes in and they take a run at you. I don't mind them still going last in initiative, because it's not so much it's not that they've got fast reflex. The reflexes are super twitchy. They just have some speed to them. But then I looked in the book, and as you can see here, movement rate is 40. Now let me just, if I go into the book here, so you think like, okay, movement rate's 40. What does that mean, right? It's abstract, right? So what are we talking about? So let me compare it. Let me compare it to, they have some normal types, right? Normal man, that kind of thing. And just an ordinary dude walking around. Normal human, also moves at 40. So it's moving as fast as a normie. It is moving as fast as you are. It is not slower than you. And in fact, I don't know why I looked at this, but a noble, like the lord of a castle, only moves 20. So it's, now granted, it's not super quick a dick, but it's pretty darn fast. Faster than rats. Normal rats only move 20 feet. It's as quick as a giant rat. It's as quick as an owlbear. It's faster than an ogre. It's as quick as an orc. So I was thinking about I want to increase the movement, but then I'm thinking, no, I don't think I have to. Because if they want to charge, I mean, there's nothing in here that says they can't charge. There's nothing in there that says they can't do it. It just, the only thing it says, which I kept, was they're always last in initiative. I'll just add act. They always act last initiative. That's the zombie tax. Other than that, they are not, obviously you can role play them as being slow and sluggish, whatever, but stats, in terms of mechanically, they're not slow. They're as fast as you or me. So I thought that was kind of cool. Let's see. Ian asked, but what do the things that giant centipedes eat? Gus is giant earthworms. Yeah. Some other giant thing. I don't know. I wouldn't know. I mean, maybe that's the thing, is they don't eat anything at all. I saw a gross video. I was looking at something on Reddit. I don't keep my account on Reddit anymore, but every once in a while I'll end up there. And so I do end up finding stuff on Reddit, even though I'm not really using it for my own self much. And it was someone did a video. I don't know. It's some of these things that people take videos of. I don't even understand. I don't understand how you even arrive to it. But they had in a pair of tweezers, or some kind of tweezers, a praying mantis. And it's everything zoomed in, so I don't know how big in real life the praying mantis is, whatever. And then they take the praying mantis and they submerge it partially in water, in a glass of water. So, up to its thorax, I guess, is in the water, but it's not completely submerged. It's not they're not drowning the giant centipede. And then the video's got I didn't have the sound on, so I don't know if it's got somebody talking or if it's got some kind of it's putting some goofy soundtrack on the end of it, on top of it. But there's text saying, kill captions overlaying saying what's going on. And the captions say like, just watch. Okay, so I'm looking at it, and well, now hold on a minute. So what happens is, okay, guys, I'll look it up again. I'm using BX, but maybe I misread it. Maybe my whole thing about the zombies is a misreading. Let me go back and look it up again. Out of the I guess some fold in its exoskeleton, I don't know, where some things come together, these worms start coming out. I think there was 3 or 4 of these worms, and you see the little black things starting to come out, creep out, come out, creep out, and they're coming out, and they're coming in the water, and they're coming, and 3 or 4 of these things, and it takes a good, I don't know how long the video is, but it wasn't 2 seconds, and these worms were longer than the praying mantis was long. I don't even know where they're. I guess they're, I don't know, wrapped around it or something, and they're all coming out in the water, and it's all, ugh. And eventually they all came out into the cup of water, which was, it was glass cup so you could see inside. And then the guy lets the mantis go. It was gross. It looked disgusting. But I just was wondering, well, did you know? Did somebody know they were in there? Did somebody know? I mean, I don't know. Maybe if they're a biologist, insectologist, praying mantologist, they know what's there. I don't know how they knew. And then make the video? Or did they just decide we're just going to start dipping praying manti into water, and if something happens, we're filming it? It was just a weird thing. It was informative in a way, and gross. But it was, I guess, informative. So I guess it does bring up a neat idea if you have some kind of interesting, parasite of a creature. You might not normally think of a parasite. Okay, zombies. Nope. Gus. Zombies move 120 feet, parenthetically 40 feet. So mayhaps, OSC and their infinite wisdom decided to make the zombies slow. But no, they're actually 40 feet. Let me check. I don't think they're reprinted in the expert set, but I'll look just in case there's a difference between them. If they are they? They are not. So that might be a little interesting quirk of BX versus OSC, that the BX zombies are fast and the OSC zombies are slow. And Gus says in Beckme they're 90-30. So they've been getting slower over time, which is interesting because the fashion in Hollywood is the zombies are getting faster. Well, I guess Walking Dead zombies are slow, right? But a lot of the other movies, the fast zombies kind of overtook the slow zombies, but not in our fantasy games. In our fantasy games, the zombies are getting slower. Who is no, see, no one fights for the zombies getting nerfed. Where's the brigaders for zombies having their speed nerfed through the additions? I remember those old zombies were fast. They weren't slow like your cruddy zombies today. Mage's Musings is consistent with AD&D, which there are 6 inches to lose initiative. Well, Mage's Musings, there is a note in BX that the zombies do lose initiative. They just are fast, which I'm fine with. That's so I kept that part. I mean, I kept the whole thing, actually. I thought I would have to amend the speed to get some fast moving zombies, but didn't have to. Did not have to. They're all set. So interesting. So then maybe that's a Gygaxian change. Yeah, check. I have OD&D around, but I'd have to back up my chair to get it. So I'd rather not. So if you can check it out. So this is kind of fun. So yeah, that's the funny thing. We start looking at all these different, we have all these editions now. We can see how different people tweaked the rulings. Okay, so we got the staircases going up or down. Those are well worn. Iron railing winds around the inner column of the stair. Then we have the staircase going up. The staircase winds upward. Key darkness. Mercurius says you always alter the speed you taste. Yeah, no, yeah, Mercurius. I totally. I mean, that's kind of so Mercurius. That's kind of that's kind of how I got started on here. Is because I went to edit it. I was like, okay, I'll take the zombie and I'll just give it extra speed, and realized I didn't need to because they already were as fast as most they're already the average speed of things. Oh, Mage's Musings have a full speed zombie, but it's cut in half and pulling itself creepily fast on its hands. I like that. I like that. I might have to. That's a good idea. I might need to put that somewhere. Oh, that could be something on the stairs. I might have to come back to that one. Zombies and skeletons both move 6 inches. Aha. So now someone's got to check. Where's Holmes? Who's got Holmes handy? Who's got Holmes handy for the tiebreaker? All right, so we got the spiral staircase going up. All right, and that's fine. Right, it goes up. Oh yeah, they have almost. Yeah, Gus is saying that. Yeah, they have almost. So skeleton zombies are almost the same stat line, but different HD. Yeah, they've always had different HD, which I thought was interesting. Someone said this, but I thought was a really cool idea. That in their game, and I want to say this is somebody who was one of those guys that had played with Gygax or Arneson or both even or something kind of back in the day, that they actually used that chart for if you were trying to be like you could at some point like play an undead and you would start as I guess what did you start either start as a skeleton or start as a zombie and you kind of go up the I guess you'd start as a skeleton, right? Skeletons have less hit dice, if I'm remembering. Yeah, skeletons have 1 hit die. You start as a skeleton, then level 2 you'd become a zombie, and then level 3 you'd become a ghoul, and you would go up the chain, up the undead chain. So I thought it was kind of a neat thing. I don't know how it doesn't. You'd have to. Obviously, it's all horror, weird, negative magic because you drop all your flesh because you're a skeleton, your skin and bones. Then you kind of get it back. You sort of regrow it as a zombie. But you could probably talk about. I think you could probably make up something of what your transformation is like, or if it's kind of maybe the zombie flesh isn't really that some kind. It's I don't know. You could have some fun. You could have some fun. I thought it was a really neat idea. It's definitely going from zombie to ghoul to ghast and kind of mummy king. I don't know. There was some fun stuff there. Okay. All right. Spiral staircase down. There'll be that spiral staircase up to the storeroom. Yep. Got that. A light novel about the undead adventurer, Mercurius says. Maybe. Mage's Musing says there's a Ravenlocks. That the evil salmon, evil smoked salmon. There's a Ravenloft box set with rules for playing undead, including a sliding alignment chart where you roll to see if you shift a step from your original alignment, eventually chaotic evil. Oh, interesting. Which box set is that Mage's Musing? I might be curious to take a look at that at some point. I mean, it's well beyond the scope of this stuff because you're just fighting them. You're not trying to become one, but it sounds kind of cool. All right, so the dungeon is done. Now we've got the. I think I was gonna do the right. So we've got. I think I'll do the oubliettes next. Home zombies are 120. Bang bang. There you go. Maybe that's like they talk about the Twin Cities versus Lake Geneva. Maybe there's what no one ever talks about is the different ways that they interpreted zombies between the Twin Cities crew or whatever crew and the Arneson's crew and the Gygax crew. Requiem Grim Harvest. Interesting. The oubliettes. $120. Okay, now 4 is the yeah, it's literally the oubliettes. Just copying and pasting some stuff. Pits. Yeah, I think it's just interesting to think about how these different people ran their games. You know, I mean, going regular speed isn't super fast, but it's definitely not the, I don't know, classic where that's kind of your 20 feet. So clearly their vision of the zombies was something at least somewhat different. The goblins move 60. Whoo! Where's Oh, Gus is pointing out Holmes moving double speed. Yeah, you gotta. I forgot. Yeah, Holmes has some of those quirks you gotta be aware of. Pitts 4. Two open pits, each 10 feet deep. Yeah, I kind of like the inches movement. I don't know why that didn't stick more. I mean, I know why they do inches, but I think the idea of having kind of having having an abstract movement unit, because the nice thing with the inches is that you could, if you just call it, say, movement, I don't know, movement units, strides, you can move 6 strides, 8 strides. The cool thing about that is you don't have to do all this stuff. The conversion is very easy. You just multiply it by one number when you're in a dungeon for how much speed it is, and you can multiply it by yards in the wilderness, whatever, for how much that is. I just thought that was really cool, and I think it's would make it more simple to do stuff. Yes, the inches makes the scale, and I think, and like I said, if you wanted to ditch inches, which I get, as people were moving away from having big, well, I mean, I guess it's kind of come full circle now, especially with digital VTTs. But when people were moving from playing on a wargaming kind of thing, and you're playing more smaller maps and things, and plus, I understand also that it's not as intuitive to first read to hear 6 inches as opposed to seeing the feet or whatever. I get it, but if you just kind of said, like I said, 6 strides, 6 whatever, being able to just have one number that just quickly works, just I appreciate that simplicity, even if it's a little bit adds a little bit extra, I guess. It's front loading a little bit of, I know you call it front loading work, front loading something. Zombies can be pretty tough. Well, I don't know. They're not too. Well, let's see. Zombies. Well, let me see. Zombies in BX. 2 hit dice. Armor class 8. 1d8 or weapon. Save as a fighter. Obviously, their morale is perfect because they don't go treat. But there's 2 to 8. So 2d4. 2d4 zombies, which would mean, on average. So really, I guess if you're thinking on average, you're supposed to be, right? I mean, by default, I suppose, I'm sure if we go to the dungeon populating part of it might be different, but if you say averages about five zombies. So you get about 5 of those zombies in an average crew, detachment, deployment. Okay, so there are 2 open pits, each 10 foot deep. In the bottom of the eastern pit is a corpse. I love that everyone's digging into these movement numbers. What does second edition have? Did anyone look up 2E? I imagine it'd probably be the same as 1E, but I'd be curious if they changed it. All right, so 2 open pits. We're down here now. 2 open pits, each 10 foot deep. In the bottom of each small pit is a corpse. It was chained to the wall of the pit. The stub of a dark candle sits between its splayed legs. All right, the mages musings say 2E equates to similar ranges, but they don't use the variable system by inches. Aha. Gus says, I think it's interesting that movement has such big variations. To me, it suggests that it wasn't used that much. I mean, yeah, there are 2 ways to look at it. Either one, it wasn't used that much, or just people had their own ideas. I don't know. I mean, we're talking in the 70s. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to see what people, if there were any differences in the kind of cultural zombieism. I mean, the thing is with zombies, right, is that if you're playing them by the book, they're animated by wizards and things to guard stuff. So they're probably not chasing you through the dungeon. The conception of the zombie here, if I read this, and I'll read this again, or again, I didn't read it before. So from the book, it says, zombies are undead humans or demi-humans animated by some evil cleric or magic user. As all undead, they may be turned by a cleric but are not affected by sleep or charm spells or any form of mind reading. They are often placed to guard treasures since they make no noise until they attack. Zombies will always attack on sight but can be destroyed by normal weapons. They are slow fighters and always strike last. No initiative roll needed. So even though they call them slow fighters, the movement does not indicate that they're any slower than anybody else. But since they're positioned, but here they're positioned as kind of guardians. These are not the similar kind of zombies that we're maybe used to now from things like The Walking Dead, or really even, I guess, even really undead movies where they're roaming the countryside. These are placed. These might as well be golems or living statues, something like that. They're placed somewhere deliberately to guard something. So they're not leaving anywhere. So you could argue, to Gus's point, that potentially you don't really need to, who cares about their movement because it's just in the space. Unless you're putting them in some gigantic chamber, chances are them being able to move 30, 40, whatever is enough to get them wherever in the room they need to be. And if they leave the room, then they're not leaving because they're not smart. So they're not like, oh, we're going to chase them in the hallway. No, it's like, okay, they left our line of sight basically, which is kind of how the rules suggest you should be. Everything is doing anyhow. So we'll just go back to where we were. So I that might be how they're doing it, because it's definitely a different kind of zombie than one we may be used to. Even looking at things like Night of the Living Dead or even the older horror movies that were pre or contemporary to the original D&D. Mage's Musings says zombies in the game are more derived from the Haitian voodoo automatons, not like the Romero zombies, which could be more equated to ghouls. Yep. Gus says, of course, basic undead are such a common monster and so iconic they get used in a lot of different ways. Yeah, that too. I don't think everyone sees them differently. But I think there's probably something, I'm sure there's something correct about what Mage's Musing said, that their idea of the zombies is obviously, like they say, some kind of, like that kind of automaton. And they have maybe that what we would look at as the zombies who are grabbing people and biting their necks and doing that stuff is more kind of ghoulish. Though I think the ghouls, at least in the, I'm trying to think about in sort of the Cthulhuian concept, I don't know, weren't undead. They were cannibalistic kind of people more than they were, right, undead. Am I remembering correctly? I should probably go back and reread it. R-Dub says, but realistically, to get a 1E raw segmented based combat, movement speed is important. Yeah. I mean, I think movement speed obviously important to the game, but maybe not important to these particular creatures. So you wouldn't pay attention to them. I think that might, I mean, maybe, and Gus can respond as well, but that's kind of how I would take it. It's just, it's not a big element of these creatures because, like Mage's Music saying, these zombies are not things that are chasing you, even in the sort of lumbering chasing. They're in a room guarding something, and presumably when you leave the room, they're not bothering you anymore. So unless your room is giant and there's really a reason, your most chambers and things are going to be smaller, maybe even cramped kind of places. So whether it's 60 feet or 30 feet or 40 feet, practically speaking, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But maybe if they are, we're looking at them kind of like voodoo automatons. They're normal people, so they gave them kind of normal movements. And that they just decided in their wisdom that putting up at the end of initiative would be that's how they decided to slow them. Right? They slowed them in initiative order and tell you they're slow fighters, but not in their actual movement speed. So you can run across 40 feet of space, and you get to go first and do everything, but they're actually running. They can run up to you and you go, hey, I thought you were slow. It's like, well, they were slow. They acted last, but they're not slow in how far they can run. Mage's Music says that, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, okay. Mage's Music says that moving 1E is key to its initiative system as well. If initiative is tight and you're far away, you may not close the distance before the opponent acts. Yep. Mercury says in Lovecraft, ghouls weren't undead, they were degenerate humans. Yeah, that's what I thought. I think that's true in Lovecraft, and he also says in Call of Cthulhu, which I believe you. And then Gus says, yeah, though again, I don't think playing AD&D Raw was especially common. I know it has a resurgence, but the delay in book publication, the complexity / contradiction of the game made it hard. Yeah, Raw D&D is almost mythical. I'm not going to say that nobody played it, because I'm not going to say that. I will say, I've talked to a lot of people, old grognardy types, and I don't think I've run across one yet who has said that they played everything rules as written. I think there's almost always something that was omitted or elided or something. There's always, I mean, look, people, that was kind of the fun of these things. You homebrew them. You like something, you use it. You don't like it, you don't use it. I mean, yeah, there's that whole movement of OSC or of AD&E rules as written. And now if you're using a VTT, you probably can do it. And it probably is pretty usable. But I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Beside the corpse is a curved dagger. The edge of its blade coated in dried blood. Yeah, Mage's Music says it definitely takes some doing to sort through the rules. Oh yeah, to see how it works together, absolutely. And it's funny because you still see all the things going on now on the online discourse where people are kind of working it out and getting through it. And then you have to imagine back in the day when you didn't have, where you couldn't just go to have the recourse to go to Reddit or go to a Dragon's Foot forums or go to other places and get quick, concise answers, or just search through the catalog and archive of answers. Maybe you can get a hold of a Dragon magazine, or you're just kind of trying to sort it out. And it was fun. I mean, I did it. I had some kind of weird mashup of BX and AD&D and that stuff, but I couldn't tell you what was by the book and what wasn't, and nobody cared. I mean, we were kids too. I mean, there's that. I feel like there's that. I was in that generation where we came to it as kids, not as kind of adults or just about adult wargamer types. We came in as kids, so some of the stuff that people just take super importance on now are things that nobody cared two bits for. No one ever said, yeah, the idea of like this rules is written. And it's like, are you playing with that? Like nobody cared. It was just kind of, you came up and you were like, hey, what are you guys playing? All right, how you doing it? Hey, Mercurius, appreciate it. Appreciate it. What are you doing? And that was it. Um, nothing else. Nothing else mattered. And now to see people forming battle lines on if you played 1E by the book or not, it's just, to me, it's just so goofy. Just so goofy. Gus says that their experience in the 80s of rules debates was basically every table or region had its own views of what was canon. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would even I imagine there's even smaller differences than that. Obviously, it's going to depend. And if you were in a bigger group, I was just playing with kids from school, watching older kids from my school play, that sort of thing. I wasn't part of any. Sort of organized play kind of thing. So we're just in our own little world. Music says, yeah, I totally played wrong as a kid, but we loved it now, though. I love the nuance in AD&D, the weapon versus AC, the segments, the chaotic initiative. It's all great. Oh, yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of I will say that coming back to it as an adult, you get all this new appreciation for the stuff that you may have overlooked as a kid. I think it's all great. And I encourage folks to read all this stuff and read through these different things, because there's gems and there's always new things there. But it's just weird the kind of battles that people are fighting now over stuff. And I want to ask, like, some of the people are, they're not like they're, some of the folks are younger and some of the people are my age. And I'm like, you played this back then. Were you sitting there railing against the other kids because they weren't playing with segments, or they weren't, they weren't keeping time accurately? They weren't doing 1-to-1 time between sessions. Like, nobody cared. Gus says their own tendency was to move in the opposite direction. Wanted to make things more complex as a kid, but now I just like it simple. Of course, it's all personal. Yeah, I mean, I probably agree in terms of, I think I was more keen on adding more stuff to it than I am now. Now I'm really cognizant of how much bang for the buck am I getting? If I add this thing in here, how much am I getting back for it? Can I get something close to it without adding that? Yeah, I do agree with that. I also had I spent hours and hours and hours reading the books and just sitting there. I mean, I spent so much time not playing the game, but just absorbing the game. I don't have time for that stuff now. I don't have time to do it now. The idea of where, I was very uncritical, I think, as most kids are, the way these books were laid out and all this other stuff. Now it's like, man, could you not, BX, I love it, but saving throws are in combat, which kind of makes sense, but there's also lots of other things to do your saving throws. And you also figure out your saving throws when you're doing character creation, but you can't find your saving throws in the character creation stuff. You have to go to combat to find it. And it's like, why? You could have put it twice. I wouldn't have hated you. Hey, Mercurius, appreciate the gift. Look at that, Teresa. Welcome aboard. You could have just put it in two places, or put it with character creations because it's right there. But nope, you got to find it in combat. Like, all those weird decisions as a kid. I was like, I don't care. Probably remembered where they are. Now I'm always like, oh, where the heck did they put that thing? But that's me now versus me then. Now that my brain has been mushed by life. Gus says, I think there was an idea that the game could be perfected, the rules made realistic, quote unquote, while these days I don't have the belief that the world is capable of being simulated or whatever. I mean, I think, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd be curious. I don't know if they ever felt any level they could. I do think there was, and I will mea culpa, like, I had this point of view too, is that for a while that each edition was kind of a step closer to like this perfected game. Like you hope when you upgrade your software or your operating system on your computer that you're going bigger, you're getting better, you're getting close to this goal, right? And it took me a long time to realize, to look back and go, oh my gosh, like, not only is it cool to play, because I first started getting back into playing the older versions of the game, purely out of nostalgia. I just like, oh yeah, man, I used to love D&D. Oh, Gus isn't even talking about designers. Just me as a kid. Oh, I see. But I think I'm curious about designers too, right? I mean, obviously, I know there's a economics part to it, but I do feel like that the approach, at least the editions, used to be to try to get to this, and I'm sure they do feel like that we're moving towards a more perfect D&D with every transition. And I certainly approach it as a consumer that, hey, D&D first edition, the second edition, the third edition, we were moving, like you're on this march. And then at a certain point, which is really what the OSR all was looking back and saying, wait a minute, where that kind of, what's that talking heads line? How did we get here? Like when you end up in the kind of feat, hell, character generation kind of thing, it's like, how did we get to this place? And then, you start to look back and say like, oh my gosh, there was something magical before they did whatever. And I know it's all complicated and messy and everything, but I totally was on that same pathway of thinking like, oh yeah, all this stuff is this kind of forward progress ho. And now I'm like, maybe not. The taxonomical urge. And that place was vampire. Yeah, there are a lot of those places. I mean, and some of them I really love. Like I loved GURPS. I loved Shadowrun. I had fun with third edition for a while, though. It was funny because I was not there was someone, and he's since passed away. So rest in peace. But he was the third 3.5 character gen guru. So he basically made my character for me. Or I remember pointing me in the right place, and I had a really fun time with this necromancer. Kept raising undead and then making this little army of undead and being behind them. And it was a hoot to play, and I think the other characters had fun with it. And the other fun thing was our DM was, I think he was kind of, I don't know, I felt like he was notorious to me. He would grab all these, and if you remember third edition, all the different third party, just all that stuff. And now you're getting into where you had D&D Wiki and all these things. So there's just tons of off material that was untested, untried, broken, and he was grabbing all these creatures. He'd get these monsters out of these splat books and out of these websites and different digital products and they were just crazy. He loved to push. Every combat was just to the death. Like, oh man, it was like right at the razor's edge. And he'd throw all these guys at us. And we managed to get through, and it was so funny because then my necromancer would start converting them to undead, and he would give me their character sheets so I could make the undead versions. And they were just like stupid powerful. And now they were mine. These guys had I don't know, horned heads and 8 arms with scimitars on the end of every arm, and they're just. And now suddenly, like I got 4 of those. So it was great it was definitely a bit of player's revenge getting to take these super crazy broken over the top monsters and then turn them back onto the GM, who suddenly is like, wait, they have what? I'm like, yeah, man, this is your monster. This is your monster. Now they're just skeletal, but they've still got 8 arms and scimitars in every arm, and they're still just whirlwinds of death. But now they're mine. Now they're whirlwinds of undeath. All right, let me see. I got a few minutes here. Can I get a little bit more going here? So we got 2 pits. 10 feet deep. In the bottom of the eastern pit is a corpse. Do I do east? I'm using left, right, east. I'm using east still. Eastern pit is a corpse. It was chained to the wall of the pit. The melted stub of a dark candle sits between its splayed legs. Besides the corpse is a curved dagger. The edge of its blade coated in dried blood. And now I'll give a... Let's see. Whoops. Corpse. Okay, so tattered but fine quality clothes. Multiple stabbing wounds. The skin has turned gray. How do I do English gray? Gray and stretched and pulled tightly against the bones beneath it, but it seems not to suffer from rot or decay. So the idea here with this corpse is that that there was some kind of test here. So there's a ghoul I mentioned over here, and I think this is going to be kind of a test ghoul. Test ghoul didn't work. So, and the other thing is I'm specifying clothes. I'm not sure I mentioned this kind of at the start, and I apologize if you came in late and you didn't catch that, but the party starts off in this dungeon and they have nothing. They have no kit. You got to scrounge and get stuff. So there are some corpses which you could potentially mine, if you will, for gather stuff off of. But there's also some clues, a bit of a kind of what's going on, a little bit. It's not necessarily you have to solve it. There's a couple people who absolutely know, and you can get it from there. But the cultists, if you look at their corpses, their clothes are kind of rough spun and they're not good quality clothes. Now, a couple of these bodies that they're running across are wearing kind of fine clothes. And I'm making a point of they're fine clothes because, as I might have mentioned, that they have captured a VIP, which is this local lord who lives Europe here, and there's a local lord down here. They captured their daughter when she was on a hunting party. So these corpses you're finding that are wearing the finer clothes and have suffered various assaults upon their person, they were part of her hunting party. So I'm hinting through the fact that they're wearing finer clothes, that they're not of the same, they're not peasant. They're not peasants. It's not super important that that as a player you decode that, but just a little bit more information, a little bit of a clue as to, okay, what's going on, kind of thing. Okay, so we got the corpse, tattered but fine quality clothes, multiple stabbing wounds. Or should I just say stab wounds? Maybe that's it. Multiple stab wounds. The skin has turned gray and pulled tightly against the bones beneath, but it seems not to suffer from rot. I have to read. That's kind of clunky, but I'll just keep it for now. And then there's 5. The pits. Oh, whoops. Oh. Let's see, I'll just do this. The ghoul pen 5. Pit. Broad. Shallow. With sloping sides. Sloping sides. The bottom of the pit is dirt. Gus asked, "The clothes grant any advantage? Why not find hunting garb or something?" I mean, yeah, I could. I don't know if I want to get. I don't know what is the AC of. I suppose I could. I forget where I was going to have them get armor from. But the thing is with the armor, is like the cultists would not have let them. They would have stripped the armor, and I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, if they do get up into the this area, that's where they can get some actual armor things. So I think just I think they would have kind of stripped them of any kind of armor stuff. But I'll just check to see. I don't know if AC 7 seems awfully good for just some hunting garb. But that could be me being a miser and a stingy person, which I have been known to be. Well, not really. Let's see. Armor. Clothing is 9. Leather is 7. Could do 8. I don't know. We'll see. I'll get through and I'll see. Uh-oh. Our Dubs wants to go back to 1E segments. The system really is amazing when run as intended, but I agree that it wasn't possible in the late 70s or early 80s. We run 1E with the first 3 books only, but try to stick as close to raw as possible, and it's really an amazing experience. I mean, I think you can definitely. I would love to try it, and I think, like I said, I think that the modern use of VTTs, even if you're not using the grid elements, right? You're just using the calculators and things. I mean, I am using descending. I've got descending here right now. I mean, right now this whole write up is just for me. I will probably do descending and put ascending in there also. I don't have a I don't have a preference either way. I have a soft spot for descending because I just think it sounds cool. I like the negative armor class. Just seems that's still just my nostalgia factor. When someone says like I got, you see a creature and it's got negative armor class. That just I don't know. Just something about it like ooh to me reads better than I have a 20. I don't know. Warrior King has the pit, perfect place to put a giant antlion. If I could, but I've already got a ghoul. I've already got ghoul, and these are they're not those kind of pits. But yes, antlions would actually be amazing. Gus says they tend to just use light, medium, and heavy. You could make it padded. I mean, it's more a question of offering a reward for climbing down to the pit. Yeah, though these pits, there's nothing bad at the bottom of them. But yeah, I could do that. It's really actually the real reward is I guess the serious reward, Gus. Though I'm not averse to putting something more in there. Is there's a magic dagger that's in the back of the ghoul, stuck in the back. So if you can manage to get the ghoul down and get the dagger out, you get a +1 dagger. But yeah, I could see that. This whole level is basically optional. I mentioned this at the beginning. I'm even curious when if I play as a Clericon, if they're even going to go down here. Because there's no reason to go deeper in there. It's only if you want to try to grab some stuff. So maybe it makes sense to put the thing on there. Something. Maybe some padded. They don't have padded. But I could do padded 8. Maybe. I'll have to come through and give this another. Once I've gone through it, I'll have to go through it all again anyway. So I'll try to keep some things in mind. Gus says they never stick enough treasure on things. Yeah, I've been trying to do better. I've been trying to give all there's some like pouches and things, but yeah, I definitely should remind myself to give them some more practical things because they're starting out totally empty-handed. And I've definitely put some weapons, but I should probably figure out a way to put some armor in there. A pit, broad and shallow with sloping sides. The bottom of the pit is dirt. A humanoid silhouette. I don't know. A dark figure stands perfectly still in the center. A long chain affixed to one ankle. Terminates at an iron hoop. An iron hoop. A pit, broad and shallow with sloping sides. The bottom of the pit is dirt. I'll change that up. A dark figure stands perfectly still in the center. A long chain affixed to one ankle. One ankle. I don't like that. Runs to a chain. Ankle. I guess a long chain affixed to its ankle. The other end of the chain is to an iron ring set into, we'll call it the eastern wall. I suppose then it could climb the chain. Maybe I should put it into the eastern wall of the pen. It makes sense. What did I miss here in the chat? All right. Everyone's loving 1E today. Just killed a character based on Kermit the Frog. Wait a minute. Hold on, R-Dubs. Did you kill a character using something from Kermit the Frog? Or was the character based on Kermit the Frog and then you killed them? I think that is something I need to know. But I'm going to need to know later because I need to leave to go get my daughter. So, thanks so much, folks, for hanging around. I'm going to be doing this the rest of the week when I can because I need to finish this. So, if you enjoyed this, come on back. I'm not sure on the times today. It worked out well. We'll see. But I will be I will be returning more to this. So, thanks so much for the support, everybody. Thanks again, Mercurius, everybody else. Have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. Game on.